sister. Nerdthusiast podcast has a twin sister.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Hi guys. Look, video. Matt, look.
Oh yeah, dude, I totally forgot.
Did you forget?
About that.
Did you really?
I totally forgot.
That's too funny.
Holy shit.
We're doing video. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Nerdthusiast podcast. If you're just listening, welcome. I'm sorry that we, talked about video. Is that weird for listeners to hear that?
Yeah, maybe we should start it over.
No. This is exciting. This videotape in front of us, taping us.
This is gonna take some getting used to.
Yeah.
Sorry.
For you? I'm ready. I'm living for this camera. I'm eating it up. Guys, welcome to Nerdthusiast podcast. This is another B-sides. This is another Star Wars B-sides. We're trucking through these Star Wars movies, Matt.
Barreling
Barreling
down the road just like logs in episode 6.
Just as they barrel down those ATSTs.
That's right.
That makes sense.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
Quite.
So, yeah, we went through the original trilogy over the last week. Episode 4, 5, 6, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Before we jump into it, we're going to go through it movie by movie.
Just give you our thoughts and opinions, really. We're not giving you a rundown of the story. Go watch the damn movies.
Yeah, you know the movies. This is like the idea is it's a companion piece to your having watched the movies before, and we're just talking about it, riffing on it, going through discussion topics regarding each movie, and kind of doing like a soft review, I guess. But before we do any of that, we have a special game we play on B-Sides, specifically with Star Wars B-Sides, and that is the Inclamation.
It is a Star Wars Inclination Proclamation.
That's the name. That's the pronunciation.
Some nerdy ass shit.
Words are hard. So, Matt, how does this work? You ask me some questions and I answer them?
Yeah, I ask you questions. I already have my answers written down, and then we'll review them at the end to see what we were like. But there's no context to any of this, so you can make up. You could say we're picking the best of something or the worst of something. It's whatever you want it to be. We're just picking things. There's no context.
You try and say there's no context, but I feel like we're definitely picking
context.
the one that we like. I have context. I'm a big context guy. All right, let's start. Hit it off. You already answered these. We're gonna go. You're gonna ask me them. I'm gonna answer them, and then we're gonna go over both our answers together at the end.
Yes. So I'm gonna need both hands to type in your responses, so we can go back and check those out at the end.
That's important.
Question 1.
Yes.
R2D2 or 3CPU?
R2D2.
Oh my God, C3PO.
I don't even want to hear it. R2D2.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
That's the correct answer.
3PO is amazing though. Love 3PO.
He's all right.
He's great.
X-wing or TIE fighter?
X-wing. I have an X-wing Lego set.
Cool.
It is cool. Do you have one?
No, I'm jealous. That's all.
Yeah, you should be jealous.
I am.
Cool. Fuck you, Matt. Just openly hostile this podcast. Oh, man.
Vader or Palpatine?
Oh, Vader. Vader, baby.
Luke or Han? Now we're getting into the weeds.
I mean, for me, it's Luke Skywalker. I love Han Solo. I love them both, but yeah, Luke.
Now we take your answer 3 and answer 4 and put them head to head.
You always do this.
Vader versus Luke.
Vader versus Luke, father versus son. The winner of that battle is Luke, and it is in my answer, Luke.
74-Z speeder bike, which is the bike from Return of the Jedi,
yeah,
or the X-34 land speeder from Episode 4.
Okay, so further context for people who aren't turbo nerds, the speeder bike is the bikes that they ride in the redwoods.
Yeah, when they crash and they're constantly blowing up into trees.
They're very unsafe motorcycles. And then the sand speeder or land speeder is the
land speeder.
Luke's land speeder from Episode 4.
Yes.
That he sells.
Yes.
And they ride around in. Land speeder, fuck those bikes. Those bikes are stupid.
Okay.
Idiot bikes. I hate them.
Boba Fett or Jabba the Hutt?
Yabba the Hutt. That's a boba for me. No, it's Jabba. Because he goes, oh. And then I like how he has a chain around the people that he likes.
Slavery. You like slavery.
No. Whoa, dude. Chill out. They're around the people he likes. Whenever he likes somebody a lot, he puts a chain on them.
Yeah.
What? I don't know why you're laughing. Some people, when they're friends, you do that with your dog, right? When you go on a walk with your dog.
Dogs, I walk them.
Yeah.
And do it with human beings.
Some people do with human beings.
And that's just true.
Some people put leashes on their humans.
Yep, you get weird.
Yeah. Well, not even like kids. I see sometimes they see kids with leashes. How do you feel about that?
Sand or snow?
Really? Is that what you asked me? Sand or snow? Is that one of the questions?
Yes, it is. Question 8 is sand or snow. Sand from episode 4, snow from Hoth on episode 5.
Let's go sand. I come from the desert, so.
Snow or forest?
This is going to end with between questions 8 and 9.
Maybe.
Question 10. Let's go. No, I almost said forest like a dummy. Snow. You should have done forest or swamp.
Ooh. Can we change that?
Change it.
Let's just change it on the fly.
Forest
swamp
or swamp?
Yeah, swamp or forest.
Yeah. Swamp.
Swamp.
All about them Dagobah swamps. I might be pointing at this camera a lot, I feel like.
Of question 8 or 9?
Yeah.
What is your answer? Swamp or sand?
Sand. Wait. Swamp.
You sure? Is that your final answer?
Yeah, swamp.
Swamp. Now, I threw in an extra question just for you guys out there.
Hey.
Question 11, Richard.
Yes.
Ewok or Ewok? What's your answer?
I refuse to answer.
He said Ewok. You heard it first.
I didn't know. The record
All
shows
right.
that I said I refuse
Let's
to
do a
answer.
recap.
All right. This bullshit game that you made.
Question 1 was R2-D2 or C-3PO. We both said R2-D2.
Yes.
Question 2, X-Wing or TIE Fighter. Both said X-Wing.
Okay.
Question 3.
Wait, why'd you pick X-Wing over TIE Fighter?
It's just cooler.
You really like the noises TIE Fighters make, though.
If this was Vader's ship, I would have taken Vader's
his
interceptor
for sure.
over
Okay,
that, but
that's fair.
it wasn't. So
That's fair.
I had to go X-Wing.
Had to go X-Wing.
Vader or
Yep.
Palpatine? We both went Vader.
Yeah.
Luke or
Palpatine's
Han?
goofy.
This was the hardest one probably on the list for me.
For you.
I really like Han, but I went Luke.
You picked Luke?
I did.
Even after all his whining in A New Hope?
I think it's because of episode 6.
Episode 6, he's very cool.
Yes, he is.
Except when he fights with that bone.
Then we had answers 3 versus answers 4, which we could have both had the same answer, but you went Luke and I went Vader. The right choice, America.
Wait, you went Vader over
I
Luke?
did.
Interesting. Okay. It's fine. He died, right? He lost.
He died a hero,
Okay.
redeeming himself.
Yeah, he did. You're right.
Speeder bike or land speeder? I said speeder bike. You said land
Why
speeder
would you
because
say-
of course you did.
Why would you say speeder bike?
Why
What
wouldn't
do
you?
What do you like about speeder bikes?
Dangerous machines.
You said you would never ride one.
I'm an old man now. If I
You
was
would ride
20,
one
I'd
in
be
the
on that
past?
speeder bike so fast.
But like what? Like the speeder bike looks so dumb. Like there's never a scene where it looks cool.
They go fast.
All right, Sonic.
I like that.
We'll have it next.
Boba Fett or Jabba? Both went Jabba. Kind of surprised.
Me too.
But Boba
'Cause
Fett dies like a bitch.
Boba Fett's all style and no substance. He doesn't do anything cool ever. Like really.
I don't understand. I mean, he's a cool looking character,
That's
but
what it
other
is.
than that, why are people so obsessed with him?
That's
like,
it. That's literally it. He looks cool.
He
That's
looks
all
cool.
he's ever done is look
He doesn't
cool.
do anything else.
Yep.
Sand or snow? You said sand. I said snow. Fuck the sand. I live in the desert. Tired of seeing it. Next thing, swamp or forest? You said forest.
What'd you
I
pick?
said, or you said swamp. I said forest. Of questions 8 or 9, I said forest. You said swamp.
Okay, wait. So the final verdict is you're
I'm
all
forest.
about.
You're swamp.
You really love Endor.
I
is what you're
love
telling me.
the environment of Endor.
And the people and places and things.
ATSTs going through the woods.
ATSTs are in other movies.
It might be because I grew up in New Jersey and we have woods everywhere. Well, we used to. They
That
knocked them all
that
down now,
might
but
be
they
it.
were
That I
used to
respect
woods.
as an answer.
So I have an affinity towards woods.
Yeah, that happens.
Ewok or Ewok? We both said Ewok.
No, I didn't say
There
Ewok.
you go. You
I
got
didn't-
it. Both said Ewok.
I didn't say Ewok. All right,
So, New Hope.
Moving on, New Hope. Let's get into it. So what we're doing this time with kicking off these movie discussions is I just want to do like a general question for each one. The one they're each different. And for New Hope, my question is, does it get more Star Wars than this? Like, is there a more Star Wars movie than Star Wars: A New Hope?
Yes.
Like, you think there's something more quintessentially indicative and representative of like the franchise as a whole than this movie?
Yes.
Do you want to tell me what it is, or do you want to discuss?
Yes.
Okay, what do you want to say it is?
Empire Strikes Back.
Okay, you think Empire has more of that feel to it?
Yep. New Hope's good at it.
Yeah.
It's a good starting place, but Empire is so Star Wars.
I guess Empire has Force Ghosts, which are very like Star Wars oriented and stuff. I don't know, like something about, and you have Yoda in there too.
That's where I was going. The whole Dagobah system part, like it's like quintessential
really
Star
jumps
Wars
into it
right then.
That's a good point. Yeah, because going into this question, I was like, oh yeah. To me, whenever I think of Star Wars, my brain always goes to New Hope. There's just specific things, specific motifs that are in there. You have the Death Star. You have like trench runs. You have.
I get that. That makes sense.
So many like things throughout. You have a really shitty lightsaber battle, but you do have a lightsaber battle within there.
Oh,
laser swords.
Is that the Obi-Wan Darth Vader? Oh my god.
It's the weird movement of the sword.
Dude, that was so funny. Oh my god.
Going through that again.
You guys should watch that scene. It's ridiculous.
It's good.
Yeah, sure. That like zero, choreographed moves whatsoever.
They were choreographed.
Just go like this a little bit and
I mean, it was fencing. Yeah. They're doing technical fencing moves in that. Okay, so yeah, I guess Empire Strikes Back might, I think, be a contender for most Star Wars film.
I personally think it is.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I think that's a good argument to make. Or I think there's a good argument to make for Empire Strikes Back. I guess when I think, like, what else from A New Hope? I don't know, something about it. Something about, like, the inception of a hero. Like, a hero setting out on his journey, taking his first steps. And there's just so many things within A New Hope that are just so quotable. You taking your first steps into, like, a larger world. Just any line from, like, Vader. Going into the Death Star, the infiltration. We'll talk about all this stuff specifically. But I guess the biggest thing for me is like that hero's journey. I think is most like not consolidated, but most distilled within this movie. It's like the most like apparent like retelling of that, which is very Star Wars for me, and I guess that's what gives it the edge.
I think what it does a great job of is it creates a whole mystique around multiple characters and multiple things, because everyone's lying to Luke that whole time, like about who he is.
Yeah,
like they create this whole mystique around Luke that entire time.
Yep.
Even when you meet Obi-Wan, that whole part is, there's a whole mystique around him about where the hell where did he come from?
Yeah, that actually brings us into like one of the first like things that we want to talk about, the introduction of Obi-Wan and how it's left vague. You mentioned that, like you like how it instilled,
I love that,
like a sense of mysticism that you didn't know.
That's the best thing to episode 4, in my opinion, is them there's so many unanswered questions in 4, and that's the part that I like the most about that movie.
Like what? Because I never really thought about that. I guess because I've had like episode 1, 2, and 3 in my brain for so long, so I don't really look at 4 without those movies in mind as much as I should, I guess.
I try to not even remember.
I mean, that's good. That's good. It's a good move. But I guess like what specifically about Obi-Wan though, like that you just was there that you felt kind of vague on, or like,
I mean, I'm just thinking back to remember watching it when I was a kid, and it was like, I don't know anything about this dude. Like, where did this guy come from? Like, why is he such a badass? Like, I mean, obviously 1, 2, and 3. If you watch those movies, those answer those questions.
Yeah, for sure.
But
not knowing
if you didn't have that, then I was left wondering, who the hell is this guy? Like, why is he such a badass? It didn't make any sense, but. That leaves it up to your imagination to interpret things. That's something I think movies nowadays, for the most part, do an absolutely terrible job at. Is they're trying to answer every goddamn question, and I don't need an answer to every question.
It's a really good point. I like that a lot because, he talks about the Clone Wars. There's like so many things about his history that is just like left unsaid, and it's just this. Everyone puts their faith in him. Leia, like with her transmission, like please send this to Obi-Wan. You're my only hope. Like.
Right, they have the same mystique around Luke because nobody's telling him who the hell he is or where he came from or anything. Like you're on that journey learning about Luke. That's really all about Luke. And like the beginning ones, like 1, 2, and 3, were a lot more about Obi-Wan and Vader becoming Vader. Mm-hmm. So really, those movies obviously had nothing to do with Luke.
Yeah.
But I would say that as much as that was about Vader, it was almost as much about Obi-Wan, because that's where you finally see where he came from.
It's cool. It's cool, and they to the point of like Luke being like you're discovering more about Luke as well, and like it being his journey. That's well done too. I don't know. I'm into it. I kind of lost my train of thought on that one. Should we talk about the infiltration of the Death Star? This part of the movie.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is, I think, like for me, one of the most iconic scenes of like all Star Wars. Maybe I've just seen this movie so many times, but like something about seeing Luke and Han go through the Death Star, taking like they're like these stormtrooper outfits, these iconic outfits, and just wearing them themselves. There's something about like the fun, the playful
it's like a
nature.
stealth mission in a video game.
Yeah, it really is, and it feels like that, and it just like it's specifically like iconic, the iconic like look of those like outfits on our heroes, and especially early on when Luke doesn't really have anything in his tool set. He's not one with the Force at all. He has no like affinity.
He doesn't even really believe in it.
He doesn't. Yeah, he's not even sure what the hell it is. Aside from like that when he's playing with the remote and he's like, I think I did feel something there for a second. It's like, yeah, you're kind of doing it. But for them to be like at odds, like the scrappiness of them trying to figure out like, how are we going to get this princess and get off this like Death Star, this like super imposing massive base that's the size of a
it would have been
moon.
like those idiots trying to infiltrate Area 51. Like, good luck. I would have loved to see that, like that's kind of what it was like let's go infiltrate Area 51 with no tools whatsoever.
By the seat of their pants. Yeah, exactly. But they get through it, and like it's just so like there's a tension there that's always building. When they fall into like the trash compactor or whatever, and like that's closing, like I think we both talked about like the anxiety we felt like as kids watching that.
That caused me so much anxiety. Yeah. Even when I knew they weren't getting squished, like it is so intense.
To this day,
very intense.
They wait until the last second. It's a very well like put together scene. I feel like.
Yeah, definitely.
So I like that a lot too. Yeah, just so much of that movie kind of like when I think about it, I'm at the Death Star and I'm in that infiltration of it. And I guess I wanted to like highlight it.
Well, that whole part, like once they're like, they finish that whole section, like to me, like that could have ended the movie. Like when they could have left there, and that could have been a movie in itself, and they could have started another movie where they have to go back and destroy the Death Star.
Yeah, you were saying this, and I think we can like jump into your issues with the pacing of this movie.
It just feels, I like the movie. It's a good, it's a great Star Wars movie. It's not my favorite.
Okay.
And a lot of it has to do with the pacing. I just feel like it's super long. I feel like it could have been 2 movies.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was bad. I'm just like, if my phone is near me, there's points where I'm just going to grab my phone and start going through like, okay, I've
looking
seen
through
before.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like, and that's not because, do you think that's because like you watch it so many times at a certain point you're like.
I've always felt this way. I've always had points where I'm just disinterested.
It's interesting for you to bring that up because like I think the first time I watched that movie, I think I felt like it was a perfectly paced film. And to a degree, I still am happy with the pacing to a pretty fair degree, but I kind of do
There's worse films.
Yeah, I mean...
Like pacing-wise, there's worse films.
For sure,
but
within this franchise itself, of course.
It just feels a little long to me.
I think I see what you're saying. I guess... And episode 7, I think is funny because like I remember when I watched episode 7 for the first time to like kind of get on a tangent. I felt like that movie was so quickly paced, like it felt too fast. But anytime I go back to 7 and rewatch it, I feel like it just it goes so well. And I wonder if that movie was kind of made looking at A New Hope and realizing that it can be a little bit long in the tooth. It's like, okay, what if we condense this a little bit because people are going to be rewatching this film a bunch of times, episode 7 specifically, and they kind of trimmed it down because of that. Because I guess I kind of see what you're saying when you get to the end of the Death Star and they escape or whatever. It's like
it feels like it could end there.
Yeah, but there's still like the trench run. We still have like this whole.
There's like another 45 minutes of the movie at least.
Yeah, like the resolution and everything. So, I guess I see it. I guess like
they had to kind of do that though, because I mean at least Empire wouldn't have started where it did, right? They had to destroy they had to destroy the Death Star to start Empire. There had to be that time period of a gap where Empire needed to start. So I understand why they did it that way.
No, because Empire Strikes Back starts at like a perfect point.
Right, it really does.
So. Right. Yeah, it's weird. It's almost weird that they decide to destroy the Death Star in this movie.
It is. I mean, they could have built that up, and I mean, they could have changed some things. I don't think they needed to destroy the Death Star in that film. They could have made the film an hour and a half. They could have squeezed like another movie out of this.
Do you think maybe the reason you don't you do destroy the Death Star in this movie is because you're worried that maybe you're not going to get another movie after this? Like as a full trilogy, the Death Star like should probably stay alive. But if you're like, this is the only movie I'm going to get, I don't know if I'm going to have more films to explore this universe. Maybe I need, because that's the thing about like, I think A New Hope is one of the only Star Wars films that is like, here's the beginning, here's an end. And that's like
true.
It's a complete package of a film.
He probably did have to make it that way because he was afraid if the movie bombed, he wasn't going to get funding to create another one. So at least people who loved his film
got
have
a resolution, have an ending and stuff. And for that reason, I do like A New Hope a lot because it is so closed off. It ends with a medal ceremony, like it ends with them winning and feeling good and stuff.
Right.
So I do really enjoy that. So yeah, pacing could have been better, but I think at the end of the day, my nostalgia kind of like helps me a lot. Like New Hope really feels like home whenever I watch it. You know?
Yeah,
And I think you feel like that kind of the same way with Return of the Jedi, which is your favorite.
It is it's still my favorite movie.
Yeah.
We'll get to the different opinions I started to have after rewatching these films, but Jedi I think is just always going to be my favorite because it was from when I was a little kid. It was just, you know, I'm one of the people who like the Ewoks, so
you're okay with them.
I'm fine with
them. A lot
them.
of people do. Matt, do you want to talk about Porkins really quick?
Good old Porkins.
Or should we end on Porkins?
I didn't even know this was a character. I was like, Richard told me like there's this chubby guy and his name's Porkins and he dies like immediately. It's like, what the fuck?
How did you? So you don't remember Porkins? Yeah, you were very surprised to see Porkins. You're like, you saw him. Let me set the stage. We're watching episode 4 together. It's going pretty good. We're enjoying ourselves. And then a fat guy is in
the one guy that's out of shape.
Yeah, he's just in there and he's it's on my tail. And Matt looks at me. He's like, "Why is there just a fat dude in there?" And I'm like, "That's Porkins, bro." And he's like, "What the fuck is his name?" It's Porkins. His name is Porkins, Matt. And just seeing your eyes light up at that,
it was great.
Is this okay?
From an era of like Al Bundy when he's like making fun of like fat women and shit. Like, I think that, you know, it's whatever. It's funny. Who cares?
It's funny.
Like, you know,
fat shaming is good.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying jokes are jokes, man. Get the fuck over it.
Okay.
Jokes are jokes.
Do you think
they named the dude Porkins because it was a fucking joke, you know?
Do you think we'd ever get a Porkins again in the new Star Wars?
Not with these children.
No?
No.
You think it's too
tasteless? The world is too PC right now.
Yeah, right, I guess so. That's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. Goddamn pussies.
I want more fat people to die in Star Wars. Is what Matt is saying.
I would outlandish shit this time.
I know. I'm just
we bring out the camera. You're saying the most outlandish shit we've said so far.
Because I'm hoping they can see the sarcasm on my face now that we have a camera.
Well, you keep looking at me. You need to look at them, and you're shooting the sarcasm.
I don't know because I want them to know 100%.
Jesus Christ.
We mentioned it, Matt. This is your least favorite original trilogy film. This is my favorite. Yeah, still remains so.
Yes.
The results hold. Same for me, I think. Why do you think that is?
We're just talking about favorite. I'm not talking about like from a critical eye. I'm just talking about favorites.
We're not talking about best film. We're talking about best or favorite movie.
It's my least favorite just because it feels. I'm way more engaged when I watch Empire. Way more engaged when I watch Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And a lot of Return of the Jedi has to do with the last like 30 to 40 minutes of that film. It's so fantastic.
Oh yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah, I know we're not there yet, but I mean that's a huge like. God damn, it's good.
We'll get into it.
So many things you watch and shit. Like Game of Thrones was so. I feel like I gave 10 years of my life to Game of Thrones, and it just shit on me at the end.
Well, it's because they were going to do Star Wars. They had to do it. Also, they're not doing Star Wars anymore. Do you know that?
Yeah, they fucked up Game of Thrones, and now they're not doing Star Wars. Way to go!
But like, I wanted to get into like why. What do you think? There's a reason why we have such a disparity on this movie specifically? Like why I like it so much. I think I like, we've discussed it.
I think because you like origin stories more than I do. I don't really care.
I like to see the genesis.
Right. You like that's your shit. And like, I like to see like, I like a little bit more action. I like things that keep me engaged. I have like the mind span of a gnat, man. Like I need some entertainment in my life, not just, like Fellowship of the Ring is the worst. Like story wise, it's probably the best Lord of the Rings film, but it's the worst one to watch.
I think they're all bad.
Oh, Jesus.
We'll do Lord of the Rings B-sides at some point.
The second one's great.
So that's interesting. The Genesis, it being the Genesis, like might be a big reason why I enjoy it. I also like lore a lot, and I feel like because this movie is the first movie, it has to establish.
See, I don't care about that stuff, and I think that's another thing.
So maybe that's it. Because I like watching a movie establish itself, especially when its world is so vibrant and big. And I feel like they present a big world with Star Wars, and especially this first.
You
movie.
think about things very deeply, and I think them on a way more base level. At least with Star Wars. No, truly, because I'm asking you questions throughout this, and you know every fucking answer. And I'm like, what fucking planet are they on again?
For sure.
Who is this? And you have like every answer, and I don't fucking know.
I like to pick up like the little like minutia details. It's fun for me to like jump into lore and stuff like that.
Right, and I have no clue. So I know that if I'm watching a Star Wars movie with Richard, I could be like, hey, what the fuck is this? And he has an answer. And I've seen these films multiple times. I don't know.
You've seen them a lot. Well, we fill in each other's gaps, as Rocky would say.
That doesn't sound good at all.
That's what Paulie said when Rocky said that to Paulie. Are you a fan of Rocky, being from Philadelphia?
Of course.
Good. I'm glad. We should do a Rocky B-sides at some point.
We will have to do that at some time.
That's going to happen. Anything else you want to talk about or mention with A New Hope? Any other?
No, I think I'm good on A New Hope.
Yeah?
I am going to grab a beer as you transition to the next one.
All right. Matt's going to be walking around in the background. If you're an audio-only person, you don't even know what's going on. It's fine. You're completely blind to the situation. The next movie, Empire Strikes Back, Episode 5. Before I get into the question, I got to say, Matt, this movie was really fun to watch. We watched it today, and I just felt I forgot how good this film was all the way through.
Episode 5 is an amazing film.
Like it was just good, really well paced. It's one of the shorter movies. It's like almost 2 hours on the nose.
There is no bullshit in that movie at all. There's like not a single scene I can think of where like, oh, they should cut this out.
And there's so many like great character moments. Like I feel like everybody's character is so on point in Empire Strikes Back. Like everybody, like whoever wrote, I know Lawrence Kasdan helped with writing the script. I feel like there was just such an awareness and a knowledge of like what these characters are, what their motivations are. Han Solo, like, you know, the romance between Han Solo and Leia just felt so believable, the most believable here.
Wait, most believable? Yeah. I think you're forgetting about Anakin and Padme.
Okay, stop this. Not across all movies, but I mean, like within this trilogy, their romance, Han and Leia, it felt the most real here.
It's because there's a build up to it. It wasn't just shoved in like it was in the prequels.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you love each other.
Well, I mean, Solo though does like a good romance as well. Like
yeah.
I think they do a pretty good job. But I'm just talking about like comparing it to the romantic tension between them in, you know, Episode 4. And kind of how they act with each other in Episode 6. Like, I feel like 5, that was just something that hit me. Like, they seem to really take the time. Like, their chemistry just seems like the best in this movie. Like, they're, you know, the I love you, I know.
That part was fantastic.
That one's amazing. Yeah, that's, you know, iconic line. Everyone knows that. Apart from that, though, like just him saying like, why you want me to leave? Like when they're like
right in the beginning when they're like still like they're semi fighting with each other, but not really fighting with each other.
They're like arguing about, you know, why do you really want me to stay?
Building up like a tension between them.
Yeah, and he's like wanting her to say it so he can like feel vindicated. Like, I want you to say that you have feelings for me because I have feelings for you, but I'm never gonna admit it.
Right.
You know, and he doesn't. Even when she says I love you, he's like, I know.
Yeah, that's
even though he loves her.
That's the right line for him to say.
It was perfect. So like there's something about like the characters and how well they're just taken care of in this movie that I really appreciate. But on top of that, just how well paced it is, like the moments, the tone. Like the tone was so consistent in this movie.
Yeah, it's one of the darker Star Wars movies,
and it doesn't like vary. Like it'll like move away from it here and there. Like when fucking Chewie is fucking up the Millennium Falcon, he's like, "Why would you take this down right now? We gotta go when we're trying to leave. What are you doing?" Like, so it has funny moments too. But like I just feel like the tone of it is so consistent. And I mean, the question at the top of this I was supposed to ask is like, why is Empire Strikes Back so beloved? Why do fans conclusively agree that this film is so great? Maybe it's not everybody's favorite Star Wars, but it's always like in the top 2, top 3 on everybody's list.
I mean, the pacing is great. There's no fat in the film. It just gets down to the shit. I mean, even from the fucking scroll in the beginning of the film.
Yes,
the scroll's just like, here's what the fuck's happening. Here's the film. There's no extra shit in there. There's no, this is what's happening in the Republic. This senator's doing this. This is this. No, it's like, this is what the fuck happened. Here's the fucking film. Enjoy the film. Period.
That's a big one too. Like the scroll thing is huge, because it's one of the shortest scrolls in like Star Wars.
It's extremely short, but it's to the point. There is no fucking around with that movie, and I think that's why people like it so much. It's just constant story or action. There's always, it's got its finger on the pulse 24/7 that entire time until the film's,
which fulfills like what you love about like movies and Star Wars, like the action, the lack of fluff or whatever. But it also gives me like the character development that I love.
It does have that, yeah.
It builds the world insanely well with Dagobah and Yoda and him explaining what Jedi is and all that
part
stuff.
is fantastic.
It's insanely good.
Look, after going back and rewatching these, this is, if I'm looking at it as not my favorite, but what is the best Star Wars movie, this is the best Star Wars movie.
Like, I don't feel bad. We ranked all the Star Wars movies like 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, whatever it was.
Yeah, we just ranked them. I mean, we were picking names out of the hat. It was kind of like,
it was a silly, but we
whatever.
ended up like putting episode 5 as number 1.
We did.
Almost by default because we couldn't agree on number 1. We're like, fuck it.
It was basically our number 2.
It was both of our number 2s, so we're like, put it at number 1. Forget
right.
It. And I feel like less bad about that after rewatching this movie again.
I totally do.
I'm kind of okay if that like doesn't change next time we rank these movies after episode 9 comes out.
I mean, I think if we're ranking, that should be from more of a critical standpoint.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I would actually advocate now that Empire should be the number 1.
Should be number 1. I kind of feel the same way, which I wasn't expecting to feel because I
it was so
hold
good.
Episode 4 in such high regard. So you mentioned the short, concise, or the opening scroll, which I 100% agree with. Like I like that it was short, concise, really impactful.
It was to the point.
I want to read it, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, it's pretty quick. All right, so this is episode 5's opening scroll. Star Wars episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. It is a dark time for the rebellion. Although the Death Star has been destroyed, Imperial troops have driven the rebel forces from their hidden base and pursued them across the galaxy. Evading the dreadful Imperial Starfleet, a group of freedom fighters led by Luke Skywalker has established a new secret base on the remote ice world of Hoth. The evil Lord Darth Vader, obsessed with finding young Skywalker, has dispatched thousands of remote probes into the far reaches of space. So right off the bat, it tells you like where everybody, the key characters, where they're at. Luke Skywalker is now leading rebels at this point.
Yep.
He's become a leader. He's in a leadership role.
So time has clearly progressed.
Time has clearly passed. Things have happened. The evil Lord Darth Vader is obsessed with finding young Skywalker. Since he destroyed the Death Star, Vader has made it a point to figure out who did this. Who fucked me up? Who was the leader? Who was the person who like dropped that bomb in the Death Star, destroyed, killed Grand Moff Tarkin and really made a fool of me? It's Skywalker. Now I'm obsessed with finding him. So like the way they just like set the players right off the bat is awesome. And I like that a lot. And then I had another point I wanted to bring up that this kind of bleeds into, is that clear advance to the narrative since the ending of episode 4.
Yep.
And I kind of wanted to frame it with episode 8 in mind and how poorly that movie. I know we shouldn't be shitting on episode 8 this like podcast because we'll have the next B-sides to do it.
Oh yeah.
But like this, to me, this is how you do a sequel to a movie. Like this is how you progress a plot. Like between a Star Wars film, you had this big expanse of time. You progress the characters and you tell the viewers who are jumping in, this is kind of where they're at. Get ready to jump in. They're different characters.
Right. Well, instead of moving things along and like forwarding progress with things, Rian Johnson's film was just like, fuck it all.
I mean, yeah,
fuck it all.
We can get into like how much he just like shits on like what was built before.
Right.
But even
he tried to do like he was almost trying to like start his own trilogy. And like
that's what it felt like.
It was like, well, fuck all that shit before me. I didn't write any of that shit, so I'm gonna fuck all that up, and I'm gonna do my own thing.
Which is,
and there's a handful of special people that really like episode 8, and you're all wrong. First of all,
100%.
That's fine.
You are 100% wrong.
It's fine.
Yeah, and you're foolish.
You're right to have your opinion,
and you're embarrassing us, and you're embarrassing yourself.
But what if he did his own trilogy? What the outcome of that have been? Like, it would have like, dude, you weren't doing your own trilogy. You weren't. You have to respect what happened before you.
Whether you liked it or not, there should be some like level of like cohesion between the two. And it's just such a bummer to not like take what were clearly placed in The Force Awakens like as launching points and just saying like I don't want to do those launching points and like move the story forward, and then like keeping it like hours after episode 7, episode 8, like doing that with episode 8, like so boring to like get into that film.
Yeah, there was no progress made.
And we shouldn't talk too much on episode 8 specifically and why it's bad, but
we'll get into that.
I just wanted to like make a point like this is like what Empire
This is
Strikes
building
Back,
the story. This is building up, the
and
characters without even giving you a story.
Without even showing
a handful of
happened.
sentences.
Mm-hmm.
It builds up
it's like,
what's happening.
Something like things have changed. They're on Hoth now. They're on a different planet.
Right.
Now. Like And that's something
They're on a fucking cool planet. I love Hoth.
Cool. Yeah, we'll get into that too. And yeah, I don't know. I wanted to give the movie props for just doing logical progression and making it like when you came back to the world after, however many years it was or days it was since you watched episode 4, it's like, oh, things have moved forward and everything makes sense. And this world is cohesive and whole and it talks to each other in a way. And that's great. Should we jump into Hoth then?
Yeah, I mean, the movie kicks off in a good way. Luke is missing. They have to go out and find Luke on a frozen planet, which is awesome because the whole fourth one was in that desert. And like I said earlier, I live in a desert.
You don't like to see it? You're not from the desert. So
not from the desert.
You don't have any love for it.
No, and I miss the snow a lot. So seeing snow is always cool. But no, it's just a whole different environment. There's different things they have to worry about. They have to obviously cut open the Tauntaun.
You have a sense of how inhospitable this planet is.
Exactly.
Like the fact that when
they didn't do that with the desert, by the way. They could have, but they really didn't use the desert to make it seem like that.
You're right. Yeah, they don't really go into the dangers of the desert too much. Except in episode 1 where that old lady is like, "There's a storm
but
coming."
But not in the original trilogy. Yeah,
you're right. No, yeah, when Han Solo is finds out from 3PO, do you know where Luke is? He's like, no, I don't know where he is. Well, nobody knows where he is. Like, what do you mean nobody knows where he is?
Right.
And he calls that deckhand. He's like, deckhand or crewmaster, whoever it was. Like, find out where Luke is because it's gonna get dark out there, and then he's fucked.
It's just gonna freeze to death.
Like the way that they present the inhospitability of the planet was, I think, really well done, and that was cool. He had to put him in a Tauntaun before it went out. They were lucky to find him the next morning.
And when the whole battle of Hoth ensues, that whole part is fucking what a way to start a movie, man. You just start with a battle.
And really, just really well shot and fun battle to watch.
It was fantastic.
A lot of interesting things going on, like the AT-ATs, using the snow speeders to wrap their legs. Kind of corny now, looking back at it, the AT.
I still like that though.
But I still enjoy it. It still works.
If they were impenetrable, from other angles, wrapping up at the legs makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just a dumb looking tank. Just why did it have the link? But it doesn't matter. It's the point is the battle is fun to watch, and I think it's paced super well.
It's super fun to play in games too. It's been in a bunch of video games. It's never not fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that every Battlefront has a Hoth map, and because it's so
it's like a staple. It has to be there.
It really is. It's such a good battle.
Do you have a Hoth map?
Do you have a Hoth? Because then it's not a Star Wars game. It's not a Star Wars war game. I guess I wanted to mention the only thing I feel like missing from that battle. I mentioned it while we were watching is no Darth Vader fighting I think that was
yeah, that's true.
We never get to see Darth Vader in this trilogy at all really just be a total badass on the field of war aside from when he's piloting his ship.
I mean, he was in Rogue One. That's when they really let him be
that's true.
How he should have been, honestly, within Rogue One.
Yeah, absolutely. But it would have been cool to see something like that within this trilogy, and I feel like the Battle of Hoth is where that could have happened because he lands on Hoth and he infiltrates their base. He goes into where they were standing moments ago.
Right. What stopped him from grabbing his ship and just crushing it like a can?
It could have been cool. I mean,
obviously special effects stopped that from happening, but
that's ultimately it. But it would have been cool to just see that. That felt like the quintessential moment in this trilogy where we could have showed him doing something really cool. But it's fine. It's okay. I'm not upset because the rest of that battle is off the wall and super awesome.
The battle's great, and then from there we go on to Dagobah.
Yeah, which is some of my favorite stuff in Star Wars. And this is giving me what I love. That this, you get to you meet Yoda, and Yoda explains so much about what a Jedi is supposed to represent. How a Jedi never attacks; he's always defensive, and that's what he uses his powers for. He talks about the living force, and luminous beings are we, not made of this crude matter. He's talking about in a science fiction movie about, hyperdrives and light speed and all these science fiction things, you had this green gremlin talking about the luminous beings that we are and how we're the soul of humans or, beings and all that stuff. So it was really cool to see that. And it really cements Star Wars as fantasy sci-fi rather than hard sci-fi. And that was really cool. Not to say that wasn't there to begin with, but it really dives into it.
Yeah, I mean, Yoda's the most knowledgeable Master Jedi, and he's thrown his knowledge around this entire time. He's basically teaching Luke everything he needs to know. At least, Honestly, like there was some physical training and stuff like that, but it was way more of a mental thing with Yoda.
It was always
his mindset is more important.
It always almost even felt like both. You know, anytime he was doing physical training, he was asking him questions and like, you know, teaching him mental training as well. Everything on Dagobah is just really delightful, and I love that planet. I love how gross it is and creepy it is.
And they're not there for like ever. They're there for a pretty. If you probably looked at the minutes, it's not for a long period of time. It's there just enough for him to figure some shit out. You know.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think they do a pretty good job of establishing like that time is passing while he's there. Like there's wardrobe changes that he has while he's
right, but we're not sitting through a
100%.
Huge boring time. They're very respectful of your time in this film.
They don't waste
extremely respectful.
It snaps on by, which is really cool. And then meanwhile, and Star Wars can really biff this a lot of times. When they show like what's happening on the opposite side of Luke, there's interesting stuff happening. Like the stuff in Cloud City, seeing Han and Leia and Chewie and 3PO and all them trying to get away from the Starfleet that's
right. There's some
them.
action happening when when he's going through the training.
And not only that,
it keeps the pacing going.
And it's good. It's good action. I'm enjoying watching them. Sometimes like they'll go from like the main, like in episode 6, that would be my big complaint when they move away from Luke. It's not as interesting as what's happening with Luke. This is for me. Because did you give the camera a look on that one?
No, I'm just looking.
This does it for me because like not only are we getting cool action, cool chase sequences with Boba Fett capturing them or whatever, like we're also getting character development for Leia and Han, and like their relationship is developing. They kiss on the ship, they have these moments with each other. So it felt equal at all times. Whenever we moved from one scene to another, it wasn't like, oh, now we're going to this scene, which is less interesting. It's like, oh yeah, we're going back to these people. Like it's just a well put together film from top to bottom.
I mean, Dagobah to me is the most important part for Luke's training. It teaches him positivity and the power that your mind has, and that if you stay positive. Like at one point, he says, do or do not, there is no try, when he's trying to get the ship lifted up. And then Yoda eventually lifts up the ship to show him that it is possible. And then at the end of that scene, the best part is Luke comes up and is like, I can't believe what I've just seen. And he says, that is why you fail.
Yeah. It's
like,
awesome.
That is fucking awesome,
It's
man.
awesome. It
does not get better than that.
It's like the epitome of like what Yoda represents in like these films, right? Like just his ability to...
His dialogue
to
is
open
amazing.
your mind to, and that's what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be the spiritual guide for you. He's going to open your mind and let you see a world that's beyond what you thought was there. And that's what he does. Like he didn't have to show him. He only decided to show him like how to lift that up when Luke hit that wall and was like, I can't do it. This is an impossible task. He's like, no, it's not. Like, look, now imagine what else you can do. Look how old I am and frail. And I was able to do something that you thought was impossible. So where's your potential really lie? Where does it really end? Right, it's really cool.
Like I manage people for a living, and I like as soon as somebody tells me they can't do something, I'm like, okay, you're right, and I'll start to walk away, and they'll kind of look at me and like, you know why you're right? Because you don't believe that you can do it.
Yeah.
So I don't believe that you can do it.
Man, you're like Yoda.
And as soon as you believe that you can do it, then I'll start believing that you can do it. But if you don't, then I have no faith in you.
It's such a beautiful, applicable, just ideology that they present.
It's fucking true.
It's genuine and it's real. And
it's awesome.
That's what I think makes these movies so. That's when they're at their best. Is it's these silly sci-fi movies with space wizards, but like they impart true messages.
Yeah, the dialogue in most Star Wars films isn't amazing all the time.
Yeah.
This whole section with Yoda is fantastic, and I mean, a big reason why I like Quentin Tarantino's films is his dialogue.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even really care what the fuck is happening in his films half the time. I just want to hear people talk to each other.
Yeah,
that's the way he fucking writes films is amazing.
Yeah, and the actors he gets to read the dialogue is perfect as well.
It's unbelievable.
And you're saying like Empire Strikes Back has some really, I think
the parts with Yoda, it reminds me of that. Like, my God, this cannot be said any better.
They put down exactly what they wanted to get across.
Right.
Which is crazy because I think Lucas did write this, or no, Kasdan helped a lot with the writing. Lawrence Kasdan, the director, helped a lot with the writing. I'm wondering.
It could be the best written film dialogue-wise with interactions between characters. I'm not saying they're all like bad or anything like that, but I mean, there's so many good parts there. Like even when you said earlier when Leia tells Han, "I love you," and he says,
Yeah.
"I know." Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't get much better than that. I know that part. You told me that part was not written.
No,
but it doesn't
written.
matter. It's in the film.
But they worked hard to get it. They had to do like multiple takes, and they were having them like improv, that line into different things, and they eventually got. Because I think it was supposed to be like, "I love you" and "I love you too" was supposed to be like the original, like, what it was originally written as in the script, and they were like, "Nah, it doesn't feel right for these characters." And Kaz then had them just do it over and over again, trying different things, and eventually they were tired, exhausted, and like, Leia says, "I love you," and Han goes, "I know," or Harrison Ford goes, "I know," because he's just like exhausted or whatever. And Kazan's like, boom, that's it. And like, I think the dude has this awareness of these characters that maybe even fucking George Lucas doesn't have.
Oh, he clearly didn't have it in episode 2.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I feel like that whole movie was shot and they were just like,
he didn't have it.
Shoot the scene. Good to go. Next scene.
He didn't have
Shoot
it that
the scene.
whole,
Good. Whatever the fuck happened, it was just okay.
Well, it's just him putting.
It was just fine.
It's nobody telling Lucas no, and him not having any like. He was surrounded by yes men that whole trilogy. It felt like, and that whole movie, that whole trilogy though, was filled with like characters that didn't make sense. And
it's like everything passed. Like everything just got a green light. Yep, that works. Next scene.
Because the dude directing it was the guy who was in charge of greenlighting things. He was in charge of greenlighting everything. So yeah, of course, everything got greenlight.
There's just more time. There was more thoughtfulness put in this movie than most films to begin with. Not just Star Wars.
Well, not only that, I think there was more pushback towards Lucas and his ideas. Like Lucas would say something. There's a lot of stories about Lucas and Harrison Ford butting heads over dialogue. There's that famous line that's like reported, like Harrison Ford says to Lucas, like, "Lucas, you can write this shit, but you sure as hell can't say it."
Because that might be right.
So like clearly people were pushing back on Lucas because he hadn't proven himself yet. And I think that, they say with art, like challenge is what makes like good art. Like it's the hardship that really brings the best out of your creative stuff. And that's probably what this whole trilogy dealt with.
That goes back to what we were saying a couple weeks ago, where I think we were talking about games or something. We were talking about Kojima and how he was moving.
Yeah.
This wasn't even on a podcast. We were just having a discussion. Yeah. You're like, "What do you think about Kojima making movies?" And it's like, I don't care. I have no. He's not a movie maker.
Yeah.
He's a game maker. I know he wants to be a movie maker. He might make a good movie, sure.
Yeah.
But it just reminds me, every time you see somebody do something outside of their wheelhouse, like even if they're creative, like go ahead and go for it. Mm-hmm. Don't expect the same success.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael Jordan played baseball. How did that go?
Yeah, but he was doing that for fun. Wasn't he? Didn't he retire? And he was like, "I'm gonna fucking do baseball now."
Then he went back to basketball.
Oh, did he go back to basketball?
Yeah, man.
I did not know that. Yeah, he's rich. He's a superstar. He can do that. But yeah, you know
he
what?
He went back for like, I think a year or something. He played in the Washington Wizards or something. He's like, "All right, I'm really retiring this time."
Yikes! I did not know that.
Some stupid shit like that. Something I don't even remember. I just came. I was just like, why is Michael Jordan playing baseball?
You know what? This sounds.
He's the greatest basketball player to ever walk the fucking planet, and he's playing baseball.
Gotta change it up. You want to prove that you can be the best anywhere. Well, I mean, you know what? When you say stuff like that, it does kind of like parallel Lucas. Come in, especially
know what you're good at, man. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Lucas
I'm not saying Kojima couldn't make a good movie, but I'm just saying, like, don't expect your movies. Don't expect to be the next Martin Scorsese. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
you're amazing at making video games.
Well, I mean, we'll see.
Maybe you keep doing that.
Those Death Stranding reviews aren't looking super hot, so we'll see if he's even good at that.
Everybody's got an opinion, though.
But yeah, no, I think that whole thing with Lucas, I guess we beat it to death already.
Oh, he made the universe. I respect Lucas.
Yeah.
You just got to let other people's opinion. Whatever he did on Empire, he should have just kept repeating that for the rest of the time.
Well, I mean,
the
thing is, the only movie he directed in the original trilogy was the original, and then he let other people take over the next two, and he didn't do that in the prequel trilogy. He had too much control. He had too much say in these movies.
If he's building the foundation, that was the best part of the prequel trilogy. So build that foundation and hand it off to other people to direct, to write dialogue for you.
100%, and I think we'll say this 400,000 times throughout like the length of this like ongoing podcast. There is 100% a phenomenal foundation to the prequel trilogy. It just needed someone there to direct it into actual quality good ways, and that wasn't Lucas. Are we still talking about Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, we can go back to it real quick. So the Luke versus Vader confrontation.
Yeah.
When he says, the most iconic lines out of any of Star Wars.
Just everything on Cloud City. Wait, we skipped over the coolest Han Solo moment in this whole era of Star Wars.
Refresh my memory.
This is in Cloud City. It's right when Lando Calrissian is about to betray Han Solo and Leia and everybody. And he says, I've just made a deal that's going to keep the Empire out of here for good. And, they're supposedly going to dinner. Han Solo's at the front.
He's throwing Solo under the bus to basically secure Cloud City, thinking Vader's going to keep his word.
Exactly. And the doors open up, and Han Solo, who thinks he's going to dinner, is presented with Darth Vader, the Dark Lord himself, on the other side of the table, and his reaction to that is to pull out his fucking gun and shoot at this monster.
Why not?
That's so fucking cool. That like the balls of steel you have to have.
I would do it.
You would do it?
100%.
You don't know what you're dealing with.
No, I don't. I'd probably die immediately afterwards, but I would definitely do that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I like if you see that's like you. He's lucky he didn't die in that moment. He's like Han Solo? Immediately. Yeah, Han Solo should have died in that moment. The only reason he didn't is because he had debts to the Jabba the Hutt, and Boba had to deal with Darth.
Similarly badass, Vader just stops the blaster shots with his hands. He's just like, nope.
Yeah, he deflects them, which
shows you his power. Like if they had different technology, then dude, Vader could have done so. Like Luke would have been dead in 2 seconds. Like Vader would have had so much friggin' power. Like if that was the case, Well,
here's the thing. I commented on how I would have loved to see Darth in episode, in this on Hoth fucking shit up. But as you said, like if they had the technology to make him cooler, they probably would have. Like that, him deflecting bullets with his hands is exactly like the best way to show his power without overexerting the technology they had.
Exactly.
Like they did a really good job at making sure every time that he was on screen, he always looked cool, and they never made him do any goofy shit. And maybe that's why he's not on Hoth in that fight.
Yeah, that's possible.
But yeah, then I wanted to mention that, but like the confrontation between Vader and Luke himself. I don't know what else there is to say about it.
It's an epic scene. Yeah. Just if you watch the film, you know how great that whole scene is.
Yeah. Luke, I am your father, that realization. It's all great stuff.
And it's almost like a semi-chase scene, because there's that one point where he knocks down Vader, and you don't see where Vader goes, and then Luke goes after him, chasing him, and then Vader pops out, and they start like the whole fight over again,
Well, they have like some good horror elements where like Luke is just walking through the dark hallways, and the lightsaber just comes down, almost like cuts his head off and stuff. Like
the darkness it shots with, and the lightsabers.
Oh my god, we can talk about that. We can talk
good.
about like the cinematography of them. Fighting Cloud City when they're in the carbonite chamber where Vader's trying to freeze them. Just the blue background against like the red lighting on the floor, and then his blue lightsaber versus like his red lightsaber. Like it's so beautiful and gorgeous all the way through.
Amazingly shot.
Yeah, Empire Strikes Back might be the best Star Wars movie, man.
Again, from a critical view, I think that it is, but from my favorite, I still like
Jedi. Anything else on Empire Strikes Back?
Nah. Jedi.
You ready to talk about your favorite?
My favorite
Star Wars ever? Return of the Jedi.
Are you ready to get into them Ewoks?
Yeah, man. How do you want to start with this? Do you want to start with the general question that I put down here, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, let's start with that.
All right. Is it a fulfilling resolution to the trilogy, Return of the Jedi?
It would have been.
Oh, if it ended, if there wasn't any more movies that came out after this?
Palpatine might not be coming back in episode 9.
Yeah.
I think it would have been very, very good ending. I would have been totally satisfied.
I have issues with this movie, namely like all of Endor is a problem, but things that remain amazing is Luke's final confrontation with like the Emperor and his redemption of his father. And I think those are the most important things they had to nail in this movie. And I think they do it 100%. So like, although I have major issues with this film, and there's so many parts that I just don't feel like Star Wars at all, and it gets kind of goofy with certain characters, and they don't take care of the characters in the same way that Empire Strikes Back or New Hope does. I still love so much that it resolves everything almost perfectly, and Luke's arc is so complete by the end of it, and it goes to exactly where it needs to go, and it sticks that landing for me, and that is enough. So for me, it is a fulfilling trilogy or fulfilling resolution. It just the way the the journey we go on to get there is a little shaky at points.
You don't like the beginning. You don't like Endor. You don't like the Ewoks. You like when the action starts, basically. Like when when Vader and Luke meet, like that part on.
I love the beginning. I do like. There's issues I have with it here and there with Jabba's palace specifically.
Okay, yeah, that part's awesome.
So, but like, yeah, I love that. I love Luke showing up at Jabba's palace and he's he's fucking,
super dark.
He's different. He's a different monster. He's calm, confident, cool, collected. He has no fear at all.
I didn't even think about that. The confidence. He's extremely confident at that point.
Yeah.
When he wasn't so much in episode 5.
He walks in, force chokes 2 fucking pigs. That was close.
Porkins.
That's probably what the pigs are called. That's the race. He has just a completely different sense of who he is, and he calls himself a Jedi throughout this movie. And like when you get to see what that looks like, it feels like they show how calm and collected he is and how competent he is, and you're like, this okay, now I understand what a Jedi is. So I do like that part too. The opening.
It started with Vader, which is awesome. Also.
Oh yeah, it starts with Vader at the new Death Star. He's at the new Death Star. Yeah, he's at Death Star 2, and he's saying like the Emperor's going to be coming and stuff. Yeah,
he's like basically scaring the shit out of the other people that are on that.
Exactly, just threatening people into labor. Yeah, into better labor practices. Yeah, it's intense.
And you can see like the fear in the people. They're not that afraid of Darth Vader, but they're fucking like super afraid of Palpatine.
Yeah. When he name drops at the Emperor, they're like, "Oh, he's coming. Why is he gonna be here?" Yeah, which is so funny because like throughout this movie, you never see Emperor Palpatine interact with like anybody.
Right.
Aside from like the key characters, he doesn't interact with like any of the.
There again goes back to the original theme I was talking about with episode 4. There's a whole mystique around the. You don't even see the true villain. Until the end of the movies.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome, man.
It's really cool. They build them up, I think, pretty well. There's an essence of, like, I don't know if they mention him directly in episode 4.
They show him in 5 for, like, that split second, but it was, got redone or whatever. And I mean, I guess they show him then, but he's not there. He's not in person.
Exactly. You don't see him face to face and what he's, who he is until the very end of that movie or until the very end of the trilogy.
That takes some balls, though. To write 3 fucking movies and like your main bad dude isn't in it until like the end of the movie, like the halfway through the end of the movie or some shit,
And like it's clearly intended to be that way because from the beginning, you kind of know that Darth Vader isn't the leader of the Empire. He's kind of almost subservient to Grand Moff Tarkin in Episode 4. Like he's taking direction in Empire Strikes Back. Like he's never presented as like the big bad.
Right.
So there's always like that build up, but like for them to have the restraint and wait until the last movie to really like present the Emperor and show who it's a movie about an empire, so clearly there's an Emperor, at the end of the day. So yeah, I think there's a good introduction with him, and like everything revolving the Emperor, I think is really well done. Let's see. Do we want to talk about Luke as a Jedi? How that feels throughout this movie, dressed in black, clad in black.
Dude, that's awesome.
It's crazy.
When you mentioned earlier, he did the force choke to the pig type aliens that were in Jabba's palace. He force chokes. They're essentially innocent. I mean, if you're talking about good versus evil, he was working for those pigs. Were probably working for like a bad guy.
They're working for criminals. They're criminals.
I mean, he's doing like semi.
I think that's a dark side technique.
Right, it is. Choke. The force choke is A, it's the dark side technique.
Yeah.
And B, he's not defending himself. He's using the force, in a forceful manner just to infiltrate this area, which is not something really a Jedi's supposed to be doing. So I fucking love that shit.
And he's awesome. Doing it ultimately for selfish reasons, kind of. He's there to save his friend.
Well, that goes back to
attachment.
What I'm interested about in the new film that's going to come out is, when JJ started 7, it was all about bringing a balance to the Force, and I think he paid really close attention, especially to episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Oh yeah,
that was like a whole theme that Lucas had, that there needs to be some sort of balance, and I think a lot of people the people who pay close attention, of course, are gonna get it. But a lot of the casual people would have overlooked that completely, and that could have been a really impactful thing that J.J. Abrams brought to the table. Ryan Johnson kind of threw it out, but I'll be interested to see if he can bring that back, because that'll bring a lot of good feelings, I think, back to a lot of fans.
This is actually one of my favorite points about Return of the Jedi is like that Luke seemingly goes gray.
Yeah, he really does.
Points. At the very end of that movie, when he like overpowers Darth Vader, he
right.
does it.
He uses anger,
pure anger,
right?
Because Darth Vader threatens his sister, and that's pure passion and attachment coming out to overpower Vader, and it works. And before he kills him, he takes a step back, and decides he's not going to do it. But he does overpower Vader to the point where he's able to, cut his hand off and disarm him.
Right, and like truly becoming that powerful is walking that line. It's not crossing over to one side or another. Like that's
or adhering to like only the light side. Because,
right.
Yeah. So that was something I had high hopes for with this new trilogy, is that we would see the exploration.
We still could,
and we still could.
It might not have the same impact.
Yeah, because they episode 8 should have been all about Luke explaining what this new balance was.
Yes,
and that should have been her training, and that's not what we got at all. Like he should have been on that planet in episode 8,
riding her like a backpack.
Actually, I want to bring. I'll bring it. No, that would have been good. Yeah, they actually they did a spoof picture together on Twitter.
Did they really?
Yeah, it's really
That's
funny.
Fucking hilarious.
I'll show it to you later. It's worth looking up. Dang, what was I going to say though? We were talking about Luke and him being a Jedi. And
you were talking about the training on episode 8.
Yeah. So like, it would have been cool for them to, because we're talking about like the balance and stuff. It would have been cool to have seen him, present that to Rey, and that could have been like the exploration, the evolution of the Force and the Jedi going forward. And maybe we'll still see it. Hopefully we still see it in 9.
I hope we do, because I think even if you go back and watch 1, 2, and 3, there's a whole balance thing there too. And I think that was a big part of Lucas's underlying theme, was like there needs to be a balance to this world. It can't just be
light or dark.
Right, it can't just be light or dark. Those things are always going to exist, so you need to find a balance.
He explores that in the prequel trilogy.
Right.
The light being so strong was able to eventually corrupt the world around it, and that's what gave rise to like the Palpatine and the Emperor.
Yeah.
And Sheev doing what he did. So, I don't know. Hopefully 9 does that. But sorry, that's getting off topic. We'll probably talk more about that.
Well, not quite, because you were talking about how Luke almost walks that line.
Yeah, exactly. So like
in Return of the Jedi.
So that's something I really enjoyed in this film, seeing a gray Jedi almost before we even had a concept of a light and dark and gray Jedi, or like that specifically, the gray Jedi.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Are you happy? I'm sorry, I'm trying to rephrase my question.
Sure. Okay.
Are you happy they used the Death Star again in this film?
No.
Neither am I.
Because there's no payoff to the Death Star in this movie.
There's really not.
There's no reason for it. It could have been anything. Like it's not really threatening a planet in this movie.
Well,
it's not even
Didn't they shot a ship with the Death Star, right? And the ship didn't go down?
It killed that ship.
Did it kill that ship? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because before it killed the fucking planet, and all of a sudden it can't kill a ship.
Like that's why they're scrambling and stuff. It adds a layer to like this final space battle, which is only used to try and seduce Luke to the dark side.
Right.
Which is cool.
Palpatine was setting all that shit up for him.
Exactly. Which is cool, but ultimately it doesn't really matter, the battle itself. I don't really care about the battle itself, because clearly it only needs to exist before Luke as a seduction technique. So when you go back to and that's a big issue I have with Return of the Jedi. It's like everything around Luke is so far less interesting than what's happening with Luke and his struggle. The Endor stuff is there. The battle outside around Death Star 2 is there, but it doesn't capture me. I'm not excited whenever I go back to these scenes. I'm kind of just waiting for it to go back to Luke.
Look, if you're talking about like pacing and stuff, I would agree with you. The Endor stuff feels a little drawn out. It feels a little bit long.
Yeah.
Where this is why, again, I think Empire's a better film.
Yeah.
So I could understand the pacing and stuff there. I don't mind the Ewoks. I think they're cute characters. I think by the time, this is my theory, that I think by the time that Return of the Jedi came out, Star Wars was fucking huge.
Yeah.
And Lucas knew a bunch of families were going to go see it. So he wanted to create these cute characters that fucking kids would love. And I think that's a huge reason why they're in there.
I'm wondering if he was upset with how dark Episode 8 was.
That could be Episode 5. Right.
Oh, sorry, yeah, 5.
Episode 5 was super dark. So I could see that being almost like a backlash. Like, here, let's give something to the kids. It's like a little bit brighter of a movie. They're in a green forest.
Yep.
Not a desolate.
Yeah, there's
desolate cloud city or desolate.
Yeah, there's tiny cute teddy bears, literally teddy bears.
Literally teddy bears.
Yeah. That's what it felt like. It was like, oh, we got to walk it back. We got a little too dark.
Here's my other thought.
Yeah.
I watched that when I was a kid, and I loved that fucking movie. So I think, I think that was his point, and I think his point worked on me because I still love that film, despite me understanding like those Ewoks shouldn't have been able to take over the stormtroopers. But in the Ewoks' defense, when has a stormtrooper shot fucking anything? So go ahead. Judge those Ewoks.
The Ewok.
They had logs.
Do you want to get into Ewoks right now?
Logs.
Do you want to get into Ewoks and why I hate them?
I mean, we can if you want to. I mean, I'm just going to tell you, they had logs. They were primitive beings.
They're literally Stone Age beings. You realize, right?
Yeah, they threw stones, motherfucker. They're Stone Age. What you want from them? You know my Ewoks.
It's just so I don't know. There's one point where Leia picks up Ewok and sets it down on the ground. I'm like,
you audibly were like, ugh.
I couldn't believe. I was like, well, this. How did they even live? They can't even fucking get off logs.
She was just helping them.
Oh my god.
You gotta help the little titty bears.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's just annoying. I don't know. I feel like
they saved the day though. They saved their asses when they need to get those shields down, Richard.
Whatever.
No. You said, why do they need to be in here? Just to get those shields down.
You could have had a cooler. You could have had a cooler tribe there. You could have had a cool
agreeing with you.
Men.
They could have. Yeah. But like you said, I think the other movie was too dark, and I think that Lucas wanted to appeal to families going to see this film.
No, it feels that way all the way through. There's so many like goofy parts throughout, like when Han Solo's walking by and he taps that stormtrooper behind the back.
Oh, it was so fucking dumb.
And they play tag for a second, and he chases them, and around the corner he's like, "Oh, I got a bunch of guys here, got you."
Yeah, it was unnecessary.
It's a cute movie, very cute.
Why didn't you just smack him with the butt of the gun and knock him the fuck out?
Because Han Solo was goofy. Han Solo is goofy in this movie. He's a goofy guy. He's not cool Han Solo anymore, unfortunately. I don't know if he had carbonite poisoning. It fucked up his brain, made him a little, messed up. But
that's how he got cancer. It started from carbonite poisoning.
Goofier motherfucker in this movie.
Then Han had children and it spread.
But I mean, like that's an issue I have though. Like is like, the characters aren't, like I said earlier, they're not taken with the same level of care as they are in Empire Strikes Back. And like Han's a really big issue that I have in this movie. Is like he's just kind of like fooling around. Like he's just kind of like a goober in this movie. And I fucking love Han Solo, and I love it when he's being cool, and he doesn't get to be cool in this movie. Like
I get some of your gripes. I get why some people don't like Ewoks.
Mm-hmm.
I just like, again, I watched it when I was a kid. It was my favorite one immediately.
I get you.
And I can't get over that nostalgia.
You know what's funny? I think I have like the same issues with episode 1.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Wait, episode 1?
Episode 1.
Not 4.
4 as well, in a different way. I think I'm a little nice to the pacing on that film. I still think 4.
Oh, that's right. I mean, I'm sorry, not to cut you off.
Yeah.
When you were younger, you watched episode 1. Not first, but one of your first
It was
ones?
It was my first one I saw in theaters.
Okay.
And I
watched
watched
the first one I saw in theaters too, to be fair.
I watched
but I was a teenager by that point. You were probably like
99. I was 8 years old.
Okay. I was like 15, 16, 17,
but I think that's why I give a pass to Jar Jar Binks, Gungans, for the kind of similar reasons that you give a pass to Ewoks and stuff. I think there's overlap.
See, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I can totally understand that.
Yeah. So we're not so different.
Except for the Jar Jar. I'll give you the Gungans, the other Gungans, but not Jar Jar. I can't give you Jar Jar.
I love Jar Jar.
Lord have mercy. I do want to say one other thing too.
Yes.
Obi-Wan has an awesome saying in this, and it was a throwback to Palpatine.
Throw forward.
Right. So when we were talking about how there's like a line to walk between like good versus evil, where there's a whole balance in this.
This is cool.
So Palpatine makes a quote in episode 2, which I wrote down and mentioned if you go back and watch when we talked about the prequel trilogies.
Good episode.
He's talking about how good is a point of view. That's exactly what Palpatine says in episode 2. In Return of the Jedi, Obi-Wan is talking to Luke, and he says, many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on your own point of view.
On your own point of view.
Which is essentially the same exact thing that Palpatine said in episode 2.
They jump into like similar themes in that way, which is really cool. It's fun to see that parallel between those two characters in a from like opposing side.
I mean, Obi-Wan, like there wasn't as all of Star Wars, few people are better like morally than Obi-Wan. Few people.
Yeah.
Palpatine,
is
few
the
people
worse.
Worse than fucking Palpatine.
If
anyone, right?
100%.
And you have them both almost saying the same exact
talking about
fucking
points
thing.
of view and like what good and truth and whatever it is, depending on your point of view.
And that speaks a lot to me today, because there's such a divide in America between like Republicans and Democrats that
100%.
There's all this middle ground that everybody is constantly ignoring, which beats the fuck out of my brain.
Which is where almost everybody lives, is the middle ground. You know,
it's true.
Yeah.
I'm a Democrat. I'm a liberal. I'm a liberal person.
Yeah.
I have some things I lean to the right on a little bit, but overall I'm a liberal person. I follow Republicans on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah.
And they say shit I don't agree with. I don't care, but every once in a while, they'll say something I agree with.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to fucking pay attention to, you know? And I think that's almost what they were talking about then, but it's even more relevant today than it was then.
Well, that's why like Star Wars is such an important thing to me, and that's why like them getting the new trilogy right was so important for me, seeing like how divided we've been. You know, 2017 is when Force Awakens came out. That was a year after Trump got like elected, where things felt like more divided than they ever could have been in this country. At least from like my knowledge of like, you know, being alive.
Well, I'd say they're even after Trump got elected, I'd say right now they're more divided than they were when he got elected.
They've only gotten more divided for sure.
Right. By design.
Yeah. Keep your eye out for that. That's true. There's a man behind the curtain for sure. So like for them to get, you know, this thing it's cool that we both agree that they're like the idea of balance being like an important thing within Star Wars.
It translates to the world.
I like that we both see that as like a main theme, because that's what I was hoping this new trilogy was going to focus entirely about. It was going to break down this barrier between who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, and kind of find the balance between them. And that's what I was hoping Rey and Kylo would be. And I'm hoping it still
can be that. It just won't be as impactful
because episode 8 shits the bed. We'll talk about in 2 weeks when we come back to B-sides and talk about episode 7 and 8 specifically.
Absolutely.
I think that's a good point to end on with Return of the Jedi.
I just want to throw a mention in for these films. Music is some of the best music in any films through these 3 movies. Talking about
let's move into like the whole trilogy as a whole, kind of finish up on that.
Even episode 1. Episode 1 might have better. The whole Duel of Fate song might be...
it has that
if it's not track, better than that, it's just as good as the music in 4, 5, and 6.
Duel of Fates is one of the greatest Star Wars tracks ever. But in this trilogy, though, of course, John Williams kills it. I think fun stuff about this trilogy in terms of the music, I feel like he's a little bit more inexperienced. So some of his tracks are a little bit more experimental. Like some of the stuff in like A New Hope is just kind of more... I don't know. It's more fun. It's more weird, I guess. I can't think of anything specifically, but there's some tracks in episode 4 where I'm like, oh, okay, he's kind of just doing... It doesn't feel like Star Wars. It doesn't sound like Star Wars. It sounds like its own kind of...
He didn't know what it was at that time either, though.
He was still figuring it out, and that was fun to see. Do we want to talk about the relationship specifically between R2 and 3PO?
I think that their relationship is pretty awesome throughout the entire thing. Obviously, we both like R2-D2 a little bit better.
Yeah.
C-3PO in episode 5 is super annoying. They actually tell him to shut up, and I think they turn him off at some point. I was like, he's kind of annoying me.
Well, they take him apart. They like he's killed at some point.
And he still talked when he took him apart. Jesus Christ.
100%.
But I mean, it was written that way. It was for him to be that way, and I get that. And like, he's fine. They just need to make him less annoying, and they did in 5. He wasn't as annoying. In 5. I'm sorry, 6.
He's great for comic relief, and I think that's like why both of them, both R2 and 3PO, and I think that's why like you don't have to like put shit like Ewoks or like Jar Jar Binks or whatever. If you have these 2 characters, that is the lightness of them, and that's the whole purpose of those characters.
But that's why R2-D2 is better. He doesn't speak English, and he's fucking funnier. That's fucking awesome.
But he's only funny because 3PO is there to translate what he's saying.
That's true.
What are you doing here? I see you're serving drinks, but what the hell? Like, what the hell are we doing here? What's going on? I still don't understand.
Their relationship is awesome. Like, I don't think it would be the same if they were apart. If they were separated, like if there was just movies with C-3PO and not R2-D2 or vice versa, I don't think it would be as good.
It happens here and there on Endor,
and it's not as good.
Dagobah R2 is like alone, and you're right that when 3PO's at his most annoying, he's by himself. Because they spend the most time apart from each other. That's a pretty good point. What else do I want to say about R2 and 3PO? I can't remember. They're great. I love them.
I love them both. I just love R2.
What they originate from is, I don't know if you know this, have you ever heard of a movie called The Hidden Fortress?
No.
Hidden Fortress is an old like 1950s samurai film, and that
sounds cool.
It's really good. And there's 2 characters. It's like a heist. It's like they're like stealing like something. They're on like a quest to steal something.
Okay.
And there's these 2 beggars who are basically like following them on their quest, and they're goofy motherfuckers who are like almost like the comedic relief through the film. And that was a heavy inspiration.
Really?
Akira Kurosawa is the film. He has the director of that film. And he has great films all around about samurai.
Fucking weeb.
Dude, they're fucking good. We'll have to watch them because they're fucking good. But yeah, those two characters inspired 3PO and R2. And like, the thing I like about that is like they're there for comedic relief. And because of that, I don't think you need stuff like Gungans. You don't need stuff like Ewoks to make your movie funny. You have them. You have those characters. You have characters like that in R2-D2 and 3PO. And you can do other characters that are similar. You don't have to be kind of cheap with like your laughs or whatever to make sure it stays a kids movie. I think characters like that kind of lighten the mood enough. I think that's the point I wanted to make about R2 and 3PO.
Yeah, I think using the droids for comic relief is great. Rogue One did an amazing job with
that. Yeah, 100%.
Like,
with K2SO.
K2SO. Yeah. Fucking awesome, dude.
Same thing with L3 in Solo.
Exactly, man. Like, use these droids for your comic relief. That's all you got to do, man.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to go into this discussion.
I don't think you should.
I'm going to skip that one. Because we have questions.
Yeah, we have important questions that need to be answered, and I need to get a beer, so you can start with the first question.
Okay. All right, cool. So our first question comes from J. Hunter Pearson, and this is regarding Star Wars. And he has, over the years, George Lucas has added a bunch of stuff to the original trilogy. Using the 2011 Blu-ray as your source material, which is what we watched, what one edition would you erase completely from your brain if given the opportunity? Matt, do you have any off the top of your head, like things Lucas added to the fucking trilogy that just like drove you nuts that you wanted to get rid of? I wrote down some examples in our doc if we want to go through them. But is there anything that?
Well, I know the one you're gonna mention, so I'll save that for you.
I don't know if you do. You really?
I think so.
Which one am I gonna mention?
The one with Obi-Wan.
Okay, all right. You can do yours then.
When Vader screams no is completely unnecessary at the Return of the Jedi.
It seems like a fuck you to fans.
It just doesn't need to be there. It doesn't add anything to the scene. So if it's not adding to the scene, don't fucking do it.
It seems like it really does feel like an insult to people who like hated Episode 3's no, like to add it in this like iconic, like why? Why? And in these Blu-rays especially, there are so many like why for what purpose? Like what even is
the Blu-rays look great, by the way. The Blu-rays look fantastic. It's just like some of the shit they had to change and add in. It's like, why this doesn't need to be here. Just make it look a little prettier.
Yeah.
Like you don't got to change everything or like words. Leave the words alone, maybe.
Like what words?
Nerd.
Okay, yeah, okay, I got you.
And then what Obi-Wan says, which I'm sure you're gonna talk about.
And so that's actually not the one that I was gonna pick.
I could have sworn it would have been that.
So I don't know if you guys have seen Episode 4 on Blu-ray, but holy shit, there's a point in that movie where Obi-Wan is trying to scare off the Tusken Raiders from Luke because he's about to die. And in the old movie, he does a screech to scare them off. And it's fine. It's not like
it's kind of subtle in the theatrical
it's okay.
thing.
And I always forget watching the fucking Blu-ray that they changed that fucking scream. And in this one, he just does the most ridiculous like, ooh, like it's like a like insane like woman being caught with her pantaloons down on the ground. She like it doesn't make any.
It's
like,
over
why?
The top and completely out of place.
Why change that? Why is that a thing you want to?
It doesn't need to change.
But he does that. He does like a big door at Jabba's palace. He makes the door bigger.
The big door thing.
The Blu-ray.
You showed me the side by side. That was. I always remembered the door being big, so I wouldn't have even noticed this. But Rich was like, "Oh, they made the door bigger." I'm like, "Really?" And then he showed me. I was like, "Holy shit!"
Like, why? Why did you put money into that?
Who cares?
CGI rocks in Episode 4 in front of R2-D2 for some reason. They wanted
to make him look more hidden. So I get that. I mean, I would consider that passable. It makes more sense than a bigger door. The door was fucking big, bro.
But here's
it should be bigger. What the fuck, man?
It was pretty fucking huge. Yeah.
The door must be bigger. Redo it.
But the thing is, it's not like... What the fuck? Like, the door was big enough for how big Jabba's palace felt on the inside. Like, I didn't need it to be bigger. It's not like they made the door bigger. I'm like, oh, now it makes sense. The inside makes sense. Like, oh, now I get why it's as big as it is. So fucking stupid. Another stupid one. I want to go through the stupid ones before I give mine out. Ewoks have eyelids now. That's fun, I guess.
It doesn't matter.
Big door at Jabba's palace. We talked about that. Well, the thing with like R2D2 hiding behind rocks, like I couldn't see before. I was like, oh, R2's there because that's where he went.
Right, you could tell that he was hidden. Like, it didn't have to bend your mind that he was hidden.
But now that there's rocks in front of him, how did R2 get behind those rocks? There's no space for him to get in.
He got in, Richard. Don't worry about it.
Was there like he went around the whole fucking canyon to get
there
through
was
the back
a
and find
cutout
cave
like
system?
exactly fit for him that he just rolled
just
into.
100%. So yeah, his Obi-Wan scream.
I'll say something that's bad.
Yeah.
I do not like the changes to Cloud City.
Oh, that's right. You were upset about those.
It's ugly. I mean, it looks like episode 1. Like, Jesus Christ.
It's just out of place. It just looks
so
weird.
out of place.
Yeah, it just looks weird compared to like all the practical effects that's throughout that movie.
Yeah, it's very out of place. It doesn't need to be there. They didn't need to change Cloud City. They should have left it alone.
I can't remember what the theatrical release looks like though. I would like to see the original release to see how it looks without the CGI and stuff, and see what it used to look like. I should go over mine though, huh? What my thing is?
Yeah, I'll mention my last one. Then you can jump into those.
Go ahead.
At the very end of Return of the Jedi on the Blu-rays, they go back and they show you Naboo and all the prequels.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't need any of that shit. Get the fuck out of here. Remind me of that. Come on now.
Yeah. Well, but you get to see the Gungans at Naboo, and he goes, "We so free."
All right, so here's my other problem with that.
What?
Right? There's a thing in space called space-time continuum.
What?
It would have taken fucking years for those people to even realize what happened.
No, they have
if they were on different planets.
No, they have like a communication system that travels faster than light.
Do they?
Yeah, for sure. If they can travel faster than light, then yeah, they can send out messages for sure.
Either way, I don't want to see that shit. I don't need to see Hayden Christensen again.
Oh, that's another big change.
I didn't need to see that again.
I'm okay with that. So that's a change. Okay, let me do mine. Let me get mine out of the way. Mine is Greedo shooting first. Don't do it. Don't do it. Han shot first.
Doesn't need to happen.
Doesn't need to happen. Don't.
I'm with you on that.
That's mine. Because that to me, out of all these changes, is the most like character changing. Like it changes who that character is.
Yeah.
By having him not shoot first. But they fix it.
It's unnecessary.
So that's okay. Here's J. Hunter Pearson. Here are two that I really like. I really like CGI Jabba in A New Hope.
When he's walking to the shit, like they're outside of the Millennium Falcon. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I like that. That was.
I don't mind it. It's fine.
So I looked into it. It's not in the movie at all. In the original,
I don't really have a problem with it.
I think it's cool. I think it ties.
Weren't you saying there was that person there, and they called that person Jabba?
Yeah. So basically, I looked into it. What it was is they shot the scene with a guy standing in, some Irish guy, and they basically had plans to like put a stop motion Jabba in front, like over him.
But they left him in.
But they just never put it in the movie. They
just didn't put it in.
They just never got around to doing it. So they never put it in the movie.
All right.
So I like having it there. I like seeing Jabba early. It ties it into episode 9 later.
I'm fine with it. It doesn't matter.
Like if they do a re-release, like a perfect re-release where they get rid of all of Lucas's changes, all the random CGI bullshit he put in there, I kind of hope that one stays. If they touch it up a little bit to make the CGI even better, cool. But I like that. I like it.
I have a feeling that you can quote me on this. We'll see if we're right.
Yeah.
Within the next few years, probably like within the next 5 years, Disney's gonna go back, re-release the theatrical releases of these for like maybe a 2-week period for each film, where you have 2 weeks to go see this in the theater, the way they were originally made, without any changes. And I don't think they're gonna pick and choose. I think they're gonna try to appease the fans who want the theatrical release to be like, here it is.
I want them to pick and choose.
I kind of do too, but. If they're just like, hey, here's the theatrical release, I don't remember them very well because it's been so long, so I would love to go back and watch them.
I think you can't make any decisions on what you would pick and choose, though, until episode 9 is out. That's when you make the changes. Because you have to see, because we might be getting
what kind of ghosts we get in the show.
Yeah, we might be getting, exactly. Force Ghost Anakin Skywalker might be in this fucking episode 9.
It's going to be like the motherfucking Travel Channel with other goddamn ghost shows.
Not wait to see how many ghosts we get in episode 9. And the other one I like, the other change I'm okay with, is I've accepted Anakin Skywalker's ghost change. I think it makes more sense than
you were saying him being Anakin, like teenage Anakin, basically, or like early 20s Anakin?
Before he turned to the dark side.
Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, Hayden Christensen Anakin. Him being that as a ghost makes more sense than him being some old guy that he never was. He never was an old man like that. He never looked the way he looked.
But every time I look at Hayden Christensen, it hurts.
It won't after episode 9 when we did some cool Force Ghost shit. So don't even worry. We have another question from Ida
I'm
Hogan.
sorry, Hayden Christensen. I'm not judging you as an actor. I'm just judging you as an actor.
I judge you as an actor. You're a terrible actor, but I think you're a cool guy. At Ida Hoagie asks, this is a good one.
This is a great question.
So my kids know what Star Wars is, but they haven't watched any movies yet. What order should I present them? Should I start at episode 1 or episode 4? Prequel trilogy or original trilogy, Matt? If you're trying to get your kid into these movies.
So here's my thoughts.
Yeah.
You have to think like a kid, not like an adult.
Okay.
I think if you show a kid the prequel trilogies, they're going to be way more interested in those than they are in 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
There's way more things designed there, with the exception of the story, believe it or not, is actually, like, they talk about the Republic and senators and stuff. Kids aren't going to have any fucking clue what's happening to that. But, like, I think the CG is going to work towards their advantage. Mm-hmm. For kids, they might like that stuff more.
They don't care about shitty acting.
Right. They don't care.
They're not going to register any bad acting or anything. It's going to be fine to them.
Right. And there's more of, like, there's instant heroes. In episode 1,
yeah,
you have Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon immediately. There's an instant bad guy in Darth Maul.
There's an instant bad guy in Darth Vader.
This is true.
I think it's a good question. I don't think there's a wrong answer. I would
say my answer is chronologically.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be able to wrap their head around that better.
Yeah,
than to be like, well, this episode happened then, and then this happened then.
Yeah,
and then if you throw in Rogue One and Solo, which you 100% should do.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
Okay, interesting.
I think it would be less interesting for kids, but like if they want to get the true like story, like this is the order that happened, I think you should do it in chronological order.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm not against that idea at all.
Plus the ending is going to be so much better than
to get to the very that's true. I think if I had a kid and I wanted to get them into Star Wars, I would probably just show them episode 4, 5, 6, and I wouldn't show them anything else unless they asked about it. Like, that is kind of where I stand on it. Show them the best ones, and if they...
You wouldn't want to show them Rogue One or Solo, though? I mean, I understand the prequels, but...
I love those movies to death. Not Rogue One so much, but I love Solo to death. It's one of my
so wrong about Rogue One.
But, as much as I really enjoy Rogue One. I think I've come around on it to a fair degree.
Rogue One is honestly harsher to show to kids. It's more of a fucking war movie.
It's more brutal,
and even Darth Vader is more of a badass in that fucking film.
It's definitely more brutal. But I think with the original trilogy, like, I think by showing them just that, it's just the most condensed form of what Star Wars is. It's a complete trilogy. I think it's less messy, and
it has a concise ending and beginning and end, and like you don't necessarily need any more context unless you want it. And
to me, it's what Star Wars is. Like, it's what it's all about. It's
True.
like it's probably what you like. It's what I love about Star Wars. Like, everything I watch that's not the original trilogy, I'm watching it because I love the original trilogy. So, like, I say, let them watch the original trilogy. If they like it and they want more, should be like, yo, you want to see what Anakin was like when he was a kid? Darth Vader when he was a kid, I can show you that.
But Anakin being a kid in episode 1 is going to be way more relatable to kids.
For sure.
And if you're trying to get them interested in the Star Wars, I think I just say you watch them chronologically, even though
I don't believe
they're not the best ones for.
I don't believe you should try and get your kids into Star Wars. I think you should show them.
You should try and get them.
Yeah, you think so? You should show them.
My kids would be playing soccer, watching Star Wars, playing video games.
You're gonna make a little you.
Oh man, that poor son of a bitch. That's why I love kids, by the way.
Because you're just gonna indoctrinate them.
Oh, they'd have no choice.
So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Ida Hoagie. Hopefully one of us, you like one of our answers. This last one is from E.N. Lewis.
What is this? What the fuck?
So this is not an original trilogy question, but I wanted to bring it in. It came in late, and I wanted to add it.
Good God.
Fuck, marry, kill Jar Jar Binks, Watto, Sebulba.
Kill Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, you bastard.
Without a doubt. He's dead. He's fucking dead in the ground.
You're so happy. You're happy that you get to...
Oh,
you know what?
That's I don't
excited.
Even care about the other
He's
two.
so excited that he gets to fucking marry Watto and Sebulba because he gets to kill Jar Jar Binks. You've somehow gotten him excited about the prospect of romantically involving himself with these ugly characters.
You kill Jar Jar Binks.
Okay.
You fuck Sebulba and you leave his ass.
You have sex with Sebulba?
You marry Watto because he's got a business to run.
I 100% agree. It's funny, like when I saw this question, that was like the first thing I thought. I was like, well, obviously you're going to marry Watto because he's got good business acumen and he's going to take care of you. He's going to be a good husband to you. He might fall in hard times, but that's why you're there as, you know, his significant other to build him back up, to say, hey, dust yourself off. That's how capitalism works, baby, and we'll get through it. So yeah, I agree with marrying Watto 100%.
You got to marry Watto.
You got to marry Watto. You kill Sebulba.
I hate Jar Jar Binks.
And here's why. Sebulba is a Dug, an especially dangerous Dug.
What is a Dug?
I don't know. That's what Anakin Skywalker says when they talk about Sebulba.
I thought you had like a term that I haven't heard of before.
No, that's what... I don't know what a Dug is either, but all I know is
I know what a Dug Day is, but I don't know what a Dug is.
Anakin said, hey, your friend Jar Jar is lucky. He picked a fight with a Dug, an especially dangerous Dug. So you killed Sebulba. You don't mess around with Dugs. Guys.
Unless you're having a Dug Day.
You don't mess around with Dugs, and especially dangerous ones.
You know what Dug Day is?
No, what is that?
Dug Day is from my friend Doug.
Oh, God, dude. How? Okay, go ahead.
It'll be quick.
All right.
You can't do anything in your day. You have to be a living pile of donkey doo.
That's a Dug Day?
Big old shit. You can't do anything.
This guy Dug.
You can't leave your house. If you want food, you better order it.
Okay. That's a Dug Day?
You want to do something productive, you better pay someone to do it.
Yeah. Yeah,
you can't do anything.
Okay.
You can watch TV. You can play a video game.
You
barely move from your bed.
You fuck Jar Jar because he's a passionate lover, I assume. And he'd be fun. He'd be a fun time. So he'd be
way better dead.
He'd be like all about whatever you're doing. He'd be excited. He'd laugh with you. He'd make you laugh. He'd be
put
a passionate
two
lover.
bullets to the brain.
He'd be a passionate lover.
Bang bang.
He'd laugh with you. He'd
bang,
use
bang,
his tongue in cool ways. He would, you'd have a good time with Jar Jar. It'd be fun. But he wouldn't take care of you the way Watto's going to take care of you. And you need to think with your brain when you're picking a significant other, not with your dick.
I'll make the case for fucking Sebulba. He lives on the edge.
That's why. Yeah, you might.
He's willing to take risks and do crazy shit.
He probably has like STIs.
What?
STIs, sexually transmitted infections.
Oh, they changed that? Man, you're young.
One's I don't know.
They used to call them diseases.
I know STDs and STIs. I think they're different.
They're different?
Yeah, I don't know. STI is funnier to me.
We both need to go back to health class. It's 2019 and we've been out of high school for way too long.
That is Nerdthusiast podcast, guys. Thank you so much for listening. It was great to have you. Listen to us next week. We're going to be back to a gaming podcast as per usual. What else do we have, Matt? Where to find us? This is Matthew Morosi.
At from NJ to CA on Twitter.
Yes.
And then 2 is a number 2.
I am at Richard Eiley at Twitter, RICHARDILIE. Follow us at Nerdthusiast. That's the best account to follow if you're going to follow any of the 3. That's where we talk about, we give you timestamps for the episodes, for the podcast episodes on Twitter. We let you know right when they go up on online. We tell you everything you need to know. We field questions on Twitter.
Yes.
Everything that is Nerdthusiast is going to be on Twitter. That's the best place to find us right now.
Please leave comments for us. If you like the podcast, rate us 5 stars. Give us likes, depending on what the podcast service of your choice is. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a like there. Since we're trying to do video at this point, we're gonna see how this goes.
Hopefully this is still recording.
Yeah, maybe.
We have no idea.
We'd have no fucking clue. The whole video might have ended after 5 seconds.
It's gonna be really funny if all we have is audio only for this podcast. And we talk about video the whole time.
We would.
That would be great. That would probably happen.
That would fit the bill.
You guys, thanks so much. May the Force be with you always.
And also with you. I love my power glove. It's so bad.